morning, Wareham. It is Monday, September 30. We have a fantastic show here for you. The news headlines, the weather report, and today in history. I have a fantastic guest this morning, Mr. Tom O'Connell, founder and managing member of the Notos Group, is in the studio to discuss the proposed casino in Wareham. Also, we're going to take a look into beautiful blessings, and we're going to visit the Buttonwood Park Zoo. But first, I would like to take this moment to thank Not Your Average Antiques, an antique shop down Cranberry Highway in East Wareham, for donating the props that you see in the morning show. So stay tuned because the weather and the news headlines are next. Mostly sunny today, high around 65 degrees and low at 48. Tomorrow, intervals of clouds and sunshine, high at 71 degrees, partly to mostly cloudy at night, with a low at 63 degrees. And now to the news. There were plenty of news stories over the week. Coming up are the news headlines. Wareham Weekly newspaper had the following. Some dire news here. Warming seas and melting sea ice are causing sea levels to rise and putting Wareham coastal homes and the infrastructure at increasing risk of chronic flooding. From a presentation based on the results from Woods Hole Group's study on Wareham's vulnerability to climate change, revealed that places like Harbour Master Building, Main Street, and Wareham Fire District Department and many other town-owned infrastructures could be flooding into the coming 50 years. The most vulnerable building is Tremont Nell, given its location and elevation. The Woods Hole Group determined that there is a 100% chance of flooding at this location under current conditions. The sewer system is especially vulnerable, according to the coast scientists. Also, YMCA's fundraiser, King Place at the Marion Music Hall, offered the chance to eat food from local restaurants, drink, participate in silent and live auctions, and a number of other creative fundraising efforts. Gleason Family YMCA's goal is to raise $100,000. The funds also will go towards scholarships that anyone who wants to participate in YMCA programming can do so, even if their financial circumstances otherwise wouldn't allow it. And nothing says teamwork like Lobes Park renovation. A group of Wareham Core volunteers gathered in the park on Saturday, September 28th, to start sanding, shoveling, and sweeping. With a town collaboration, the group hopes to present to the public an updated playground by spring 2020. To update Wareham Core, to date, Wareham Core has raised $71,000 towards Lobes Playground renovation. Residents can contribute to the fund via the group's website at warehamcore.org. Anyone who wishes to help Wareham Core or join a group of volunteers should email warehamcore@gmail.com or reach out through the Facebook group at facebook.com/WarehamCore. And from boom bags to Chucky sneakers to dad jeans to windbreakers, dozens of people dressed up for an 80s themed party to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Atlantic Boats Inc. On Saturday, September 28th, Better Boating, Better Life has been business mission since 1989. The year in which John Cornish established Atlantic Boats on 2820 Cranberry Highway at its intersection with Route 25 in East Wareham. Back then, the businesses occupied a small 1.2-acre facility. However, over 3 decades, Cornish expanded to 6.5 acres, became a dealership, and constructed new buildings. Today, Atlantic Boats sells used as well as new boats, offers boat storage and hauling, and provides an array of professional services including waxing, winterization, fuel, recirculation, and more. To learn more about Atlantic Boats, please visit atlanticboats.net. And that's all for our morning news. We are going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to continue with more. Now, zoos have changed dramatically since their origins. And at the moment, instead of being a place where people could go and speculate about animals, pointing fingers, making fun, today zoos are a sanctuary. We're going to take a look at Buttonwood Park Zoo that is located in New Bedford to learn about their mission, about who is at their facility, and how they are changing with the moving trend. Take a look. Zoos have come a long way since 1874, when the first public zoological park in Philadelphia debuted in the country. During their nascent days, zoos were a place where animals lived in captivity and are put on display for people to view. The perception has long changed. Nowadays, zoos across the country are a safe haven for endangered species.
When you're choosing species to the zoo, it's no longer what is the most popular. It's really focused on what species need the most work. And when I say that, it means what species really need the work from a conservation standpoint. Species that are threatened, species that are endangered, that really need to be at zoos, a part of captive breeding programs to help these species from going extinct.
Buttonwood Park Zoo's Animal Hospital assures the well-being and population of these species. So in case you're wondering, why is it important to assure the survival of species apart from yours?
And you do get that question a lot. What do I care? Why would I need to change my habits? Well, everything's an ecosystem. Everything is connected. So you can say, oh, well, I don't need red panda. Well, that impacts so many things. Not only the other animals in its environment, the plants in its environment, seed dispersal. There's a lot of things. The entire plant here is interconnected. And when you start losing these major species in these ecosystems, it has far-reaching impact. We can see in our own backyard. Best example I can give you. We have all kinds of problems with Lyme disease on the South Coast. Well, that's because our deer populations is so high. Why is our deer population so high? The natural predators, the cougars, the wolves, they don't exist anymore. The only thing that's out there is the coyote. Well, the coyote doesn't eat the mice that spread the ticks to the deer. There's a whole ecosystem. So how does it affect me? Well, you worried about Lyme disease? Well, that's one of the reasons, is because species have gone extinct, even in our backyard.
Do we always draw such a straight line?
It's never a straight line. And one of the difficult things from a biological standpoint and from an evolutionary standpoint is oftentimes the impact are not immediately known. It doesn't happen overnight. There are some species that go extinct and it's immediately felt in the ecosystem. Many of them have long-term implications.
My first visit to Bartonwood Park Zoo in New Bedford cemented that thought. The Bartonwood Park Zoo is one of the oldest urban and suburban zoos in the country. It first opened its doors in 1894 and are currently celebrating 125 years of conservation commitment to more than 50 endangered and threatened species. Walking around the zoo, it is hard to believe its age, all thanks to the cosmetic surgery back in 1996.
Yeah, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, the zoo closed for a complete remodel. There was, it was showing its age back then. So the entire zoo was done over, and that's about 20 years ago now. So yes, it was definitely a bright and shiny new zoo and an old footprint. And right now we're actually working on a master plan. It's been about 20 years since the zoo reopened, and we're working on updating everything at this point as well.
A component of the master plan was the expansion of Emily and Ruth Habitat, the two oldest residents in the zoo, in addition to opening Forest, Rivers, and Reef Reservation in 2017.
One great thing about the Rainforest Rivers and Reefs building is that we created mixed habitats, particularly on the Amazon side of the building. And what that basically means is that we don't have a singular species in one exhibit. We have a variety of different species living together, and that can be everything from small monkeys to tropical birds like parrots. We have lizard species, and we even have tons of fish species down below. Now, from an animal perspective, there's a lot of stimulation going on. There's all kinds of different animals. They need to learn how to cohabitate with all these different animals, and it creates not only a rewarding environment for the animals, it also creates a rewarding experience for the visitors that are coming to the zoo.
So part of our master plan is to redesign our barn area into the Nature Connection Education Center. So the barn itself is being retrofitted into 4 new classroom spaces, as well as a brand new animal ambassador facility where we'll be able to have our animal ambassadors get up close and personal with our visitors on a more regular basis than they are now.
Working with Nature Explorer, Charlie's Nature Play, an outdoor nature playground, opened last July. The zoo also runs classes and public programs to help people best understand nature and the world around them.
So this is called Science on a Sphere. This is a tool that was developed by NOAA to be a way to visualize kind of global data. So what we're looking at right now is an actual satellite image taken from space of Earth. And what we're able to do with this is really do lessons. We do a ton of school programming and some public programming on things like weather, space, and really anything in between. So we have, let's see, right now we're looking at over 660 different data sets that we can put up on the sphere. Everything from the age of the seafloor, which is what is up there now, to, let's pick some other fun things that we can see. Bird migration patterns. So truly we can do a lot of really neat things with the sphere. So right here you can see they've put 2 data sets on top of each other. One is air temperature and the other one is bird populations. So you can see how bird populations may or may not move with the change in temperatures and seasons.
Now, for those who would say to you, wild animals do not belong in the zoo, what do you say?
I agree. I get this question all the time. Why? I need to qualify that, don't I? I get this question all the time. I'm a zoo director. I've been working in zoos for about 30 years now, and I wish there wasn't a need for zoos. I really wish that we could all just enjoy animals out in the wild. But that's not reality. Reality is species are becoming threatened, endangered, and going extinct at record levels. There are species that are at the Buttonwood Park Zoo and other zoos around the country that barely exist in the wild or are extinct in the wild. And the only chance for these species ever to survive or to ever be reintroduced back into the wild is the captive breeding programs of accredited zoos. So in a perfect world, you wouldn't need to have zoos. We have such lush wildlife interacting with humans. That's not the world we live in. The world we live in is that wildlife's under constant threat, and zoos are at the forefront of saving these species, from captive breeding programs for reintroduction and also for conservation in the field as well.
So whether you're in for the exotic experience and look at the beautiful pandas to the majestic elephants, or you're interested in seeing the faces of your occasional neighbors, Buttonwood Park Zoo may just be the answer. I hope you learned a little bit more about the zoos, and especially the Buttonwood Park Zoo in New Bedford, that you can visit at any time. So we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to continue with more. And welcome back. Thank you for being here with us this morning. We are broadcasting live from our WCTV studio in Wareham. This is Good Morning Wareham, your source for local news, weather, traffic, and more information. And now for a moment in history. Let's take a look at where we were today in history. So on this day in political history, Joseph Marion Hernandez became the first Hispanic person to be elected into Congress in 1822. Born in Spain, he and his family first came to Florida as indentured servants that eventually were able to buy their own land. Spain still owned Florida in early 1800s, but the United States was fighting for the land. Hernandez was given land by the Spanish government, but then pledged loyalty to the United States, so that by the time Florida became a part of the United States, Hernandez was very wealthy. As a member of Congress, he played an important part in making the formerly Spanish territory more American. And on today in equality history, Wyoming became the first state to grant women the right to vote in 1869. Wyoming was actually still a territory in 1869 and would become a state the following year, carrying over its stance on equal voting rights. People like Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton were some of the suffragist leaders who fought to gain women their right to vote. Also today in pop culture history, James Dean died in a car accident in 1955. At the age of only 24 years old, the new actor had only one film to his name, East of Eden, but was already becoming a cultural icon. Two more of his movies would come out after his death, only further cementing James Dean as a legend. He actually had a passenger in his car who survived the crash, but he held incredible guilt in his heart. The passenger would later go on to murder his wife and ultimately die in a car crash of his own in 1981. For today's birthday, shout out goes to Swiss tennis player Martina Hingis, born in 1980 in Slovakia. She has 5 Grand Slam titles to her name. And that is all for today in the history segment. To learn more cool historical facts, you can go online under history.com. The coffee segment is next, but first we have a few programs here for you, and we're going to take a look at beautiful blessings.
We have to look at the world as it is. It is diverse. It is multicultural. And you want to empower all of those cultures. I don't think anybody should feel negligent or left out because of them not being of a particular race. I think that mindset needs to be discouraged.
Every person is a beautiful blessing, and that message could not come so clearly than from my guest, the guest of honor, Miss Raven James, the creator of the Beautiful Blessings dolls. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi.
So let's talk a little bit about your dolls. Your dolls, they may look like just a doll, but they carry a very powerful message.
Yes.
They are a movement.
Yes.
By themselves. So tell me about Beautiful Blessings, and especially about the name, where it comes from.
Okay, so Beautiful Blessings is a unique doll collection that empowers girls and women. And I got the message to say, call them Beautiful Blessings, because that's what you are. That's what women and girls are. They're beautiful blessings. So that's where that name came from.
So what made you say, listen, I want to start, not only I want to purchase a doll, I want to make my own?
Well, I'll talk about that. So growing up as a kid, I played with dolls all the time. I had all kinds of dolls. But my mother struggled finding black dolls. As I started buying dolls for kids and girls and my nieces and nephews, I still had a problem with the lack of diversity that was represented in the toy stores. And I was like, okay, this is the same stuff that was from 40, 50 years ago. And we still struggle with that. And I'm an adult woman, and I think that's crazy in this day and age with as diverse as cultures that we have in the United States and all over the world, that dolls need to represent every little girl. Every little girl should be able to see herself on the shelf.
Okay, so you are able to give little girls a chance to see themselves in the shelf. Mm-hmm. But also, these dolls
Adult
are for
women.
women. So what do they see? Or why should they purchase these dolls?
So each doll, the motivational message, I think, is what caters to the adult woman. Some women carry trauma, childhood issues into their adulthood. And because the women are who they are, the way they're shaped, the way they're built, what they edify, I think that's why adult women like them as well, with the names, and then who wouldn't like being called a beautiful blessing?
The step towards the empowerment, self-realization, putting an accurate value on yourself is a long journey. Purchasing this doll seemed like one of the steps. When they purchase it, how do they continue on from there? Do you offer any words of advice?
Yes, well, I would say, so as you purchase a doll, and as you purchase, if you purchase most of the dolls in the collection, every doll has its own distinctive message. So those different collector's items, and actually they're mirror cards, those different mirror cards, and my goal is that they look at that mirror card and look at the mirror and look themselves in the mirror and speak that message to themselves, tell them who they are.
So I'm sure you're helping a lot of young women and older women, but how have these dolls helped you?
Just the fact of the message, even the message has helped me. Sometimes, you know, I'm creating the dolls, it's a reinforcement as to who I am as a woman. And even in this world where there's no one representing, there's not a lot of me in this space. So that can sometimes give you a different mindset. So as I design and create these dolls for other women, just the fact of doing that also inspires me as well.
So for those who are watching this interview and they say, oh my goodness, I want the doll, how do they get in touch with you?
You can go to my website, www.iamabeautifulblessing.com. And, you know, if you Google Beautiful Blessings, you'll see a lot of different, Beautiful Blessings dolls. You'll see a lot of information come up, but you can go to the website and there's even a contact form there to contact me.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this interview. You have heard from Ms. Ravine how to contact her if you feel that one of these dolls could be the accurate representation of you or your young one. And have a pleasant day. Bye. I am a beautiful blessing. You have to keep on repeating that mantra. It's going to come true. I actually purchased my doll and they're available. You can just contact her. She's such a wonderful lady, very relatable. And she will help you select a doll that represents who you are or who you wish to be. So now we are going to take a look at another program, and this one is Angel Babies, as we bring our guests in to get ready for the coffee segment. Located at 12 Wallace Ave, Buzzards Bay, is the Baker School of Dance and Fitness.
Balance, we're going to have a little context. Elevator up, right passe. Now, hold on, time out, don't go yet. Don't go. We offer lessons or movement lessons at a very young age. We call them our Bitty Bakers. And it's a 45-minute movement immersion class. We introduce tap, tumbling, and sometimes we use some props to be creative and do some freestyle movement and interpretation. We also offer an intro to dance class for 5- and 6-year-olds, which is really starting to get a little bit more disciplined, learning the basics and introduction to ballet, tap, and sometimes a little bit of jazz dance. We continue some of the flexibility that they started to learn in the Bitty Bakers if they started then as well. And then we offer ballet, tap, jazz, contemporary, lyrical, and some fitness classes here.
If only these walls could talk, I'm sure they would share some interesting memories. 5 decades filled. But good for us, we do not need the walls to talk. We can hear the floor. Born into dancing, Shirley Blair wishes that life was a musical. And even though the streets aren't dancing, at least she has this place to share the art and love of dance.
All right. 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hands big. And my family always used to sort of make fun of me because I'd say, well, or we kind of would all pretend, my sister and I, that life should be a musical, and we'd break out into song and dance all the time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, yes. Higher. Try just the walk.
She recently bought the studio from her grandmother. In here, her childhood memories were spent, dancing with her mother and grandmother.
I never thought I would be here running the studio, and now I'm really at first I was scared, and now I'm really starting to embrace it and see the opportunity and bring it back to life for what I saw it and what it can be from when I was a child.
Shirley warns not to underestimate dancing. After all,
It's this very serious commitment to your body, and it's a conditioned sport, so you have to acquire muscle memory and build muscle memory through repetition, 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 practice, and constructive criticism, and being able to handle that. And I think it's a great training tool also, regardless of where they're going to go with dance, whether it just be through high school or middle school, or if they do pursue it later on in life. It really builds some self-confidence and, you know, really just helps kids with their image, self-image, feeling free, expressing themselves in other ways, not just through vocally, but movement and expression.
her doors are open to anyone who wishes to learn how to dance, and most importantly, young men.
I think there has been a stigma for a long time of what's acceptable for boys and girls to participate in sports or activities, and I really am trying to encourage parents to let their children try. If you see them dancing, have them come. There's masculine dancing, there's feminine dancing, there's a combination of both, and there's beauty in all of that freedom and of expression.
I'd like to make none, but unfortunately the need is great. Pregnancy loss, miscarriage, stillbirth is a very taboo subject, so anything we can do to help raise awareness, and so that way families know that they're not alone, they don't have to grieve alone, they don't have to walk this path by themselves, and that there's many of us out there. Unfortunately, to be able to purchase a gun like this, there's such a small market, it's almost unavailable. So when families are in those moments that they get the news that their baby's gone, it's not available, and you just can't walk into a store and get something for a tiny baby who is only 1 pound, you know, and it's to help take a little bit off their plates.
If I make it to the heart of you, I will not go back. I know we can make it through, turn it blue from black. If I make it to the heart of you.
One dress helps a family, and that's all we can ask for, is to be able to help that one family in their darkest days. Because it's their first and last moments with their families. It is the only time the families are going to get with their babies. They're not getting first days, they're not getting wedding days, they're not getting those monumental events. This is all they get, and each baby deserves to be dressed as any baby would, you know, and to have those beautiful moments, because it's all the family are going to have.
If I make it to the heart of you, I can make it.
I will take any volunteer, anyone of any skill level. We can find a chore. You can come and cut and trace. You can sew if you can. You know, you can help organize dresses, iron. There's always something for any skill level if anyone is willing to donate their time.
It could be beautiful. Let go of your old disguise. If I make it to the heart of you, I will make you see that the heart of you belongs at the heart of me. That the heart of you belongs at the heart of me. At the heart of me.
Well, welcome back. As promised, Mr. Tom O'Connell is in the studio. He is the founder and managing member of the Notus Group. He's here to talk about a concept, a casino proposal in Wareham. Thank you for being here this morning.
Good morning, Queen.
Good
Thank you for
morning.
inviting me.
Thank you for saying yes. Anyhow, so when we were talking, before even the cameras were on us, you mentioned that this is just a concept. This is so early on in the stage, right? That we cannot get into the specifics. We can only talk about the broader picture.
I think it's important to recognize the fact that it is very, very early in the process. And a number of things will have to happen in order for this to even be possible. So it's the beginning of a dialogue, and that's one reason why I think it's great to take some questions, and it's great to have these meetings. And people should have the opportunity to ask any questions that come up.
Fantastic. So let's talk about the concept. What it is, what you presented to the selectmen. What are you pitching here?
So our concept is based on a thoroughbred racetrack concept. That is really the anchor. That is really the hub of the program. So we are talking about a full 1 mile thoroughbred racetrack. And again, that's kind of the center and feature of the development. So what comes along with that is stables for up to 500 horses, an equine health facility, and a legitimate 1 mile racetrack, which, you know, you hear about thoroughbred racing, sometimes people try to do it on a smaller track. I want to make this would be something that would hopefully save thoroughbred horse racing in the Commonwealth and not just be a Band-Aid for the industry. Beyond that, we are talking about having a Category 2 level license as far as the casino questions go, not a Category 1, and that's a very important distinction to make. And we can talk more about that. I think we should. Beyond that, there's a baseball field for the gatemen. We met with Tom Gay from the Cape Cod Baseball League. They've been playing behind the high school, as you know, for many years. And I think it would be a wonderful thing for the Cape Cod Baseball League, in particular the gatemen, to have this beautiful new field to play on. The program goes on to include a 171 key hotel. There would be restaurants. There would be a small entertainment facility. So I think as you hear the project being described, you can get the sense of kind of a sports-oriented destination. So it is large in scale. It truly is a regional economic development plan. And one very, very important feature is an interchange. The land is located right on Route 25. And I think in order to have a development of this scale be successful, you need to have great access. So that's why we're programming a full diamond interchange, which just means you can access it from any direction.
Now this proposal is very ambitious in so many levels. Okay, it's going to require some changing of the law, the gaming law.
Correct.
Okay. So before even we talk about that, we dive into the challenges that you are facing currently. Let's talk about you and your family. I mean, this will be ambitious to you guys too, being your first casino if it's approved.
We, as you know, as we talked about before the camera started rolling, have some projects in Quincy that we're ambitious in nature, and we're very successful. One of the reasons why we decided to have the announcement for this project in both Quincy and then later that same day in Wareham is because of the proven track record. We're able to take on big challenges. We're able to take on big projects and solve problems along the way. So even though this is ambitious, this is what we do.
This is what you do. All right, so let's talk about the challenges that you're facing. And let's talk about the level 2 casino versus level 1.
Yes.
Tell us more details.
So the gaming law, as I think you know, created 3 zones in the Commonwealth. And it created 3 Category 1 licenses and 1 single Category 2 level license. So the Category 1 license is a full destination resort casino. So we all know that one of those landed in Springfield, MGM. So that's Region B. So that's all set. In Region A, we all know that Encore landed in Everett. And we also know that the 1 single Category 2 level license, which means 1,250 electronic games, landed in Plainville, so Plain Ridge Park. Basically, Region C has been left. And even though the Gaming Commission opened up Region C for a competition, they only had 1 applicant. And that was denied in 2016. And they petitioned for reconsideration. And just a month ago, the Gaming Commission, with finality, denied that motion for reconsideration. So Region C, which is the southeast region, really will not benefit from the gaming law unless the legislature recognizes current market conditions and takes a look at that Category 1 license. And does that really make sense in Region C? It doesn't. It really doesn't, because of the location of Plain Ridge Park and Encore. If you had a map here, I'd point to Region C, which again is Plymouth County and Barnstable County and Bristol County and Dukes County, so think like Brockton South. If someone came along, Queen, and gave you $1 billion to try to find a location for a Category 1 casino, in Region C, I don't think you'd be able to do it. And I say that because no matter where you go in Region C, you can't find a location that won't significantly cannibalize and destabilize the existing license holders. So you'd never want to build a full destination resort casino in a town in Region C knowing that you're just going to take business away from Plain Ridge Park and Encore. It doesn't make sense from the Commonwealth standpoint to do that. It doesn't make sense from the Gaming Commission's position. Their mandate, as you probably read, is to create robust, long-term, sustained tax revenue from gaming. So they're never going to look at a Category 1 license and place it somewhere where it's going to cause havoc in the industry. So that's why I think the legislature should take the Gifford bill that has been submitted and recognize current market conditions and give the Gaming Commission the discretion to right-size a license if that makes the most sense. Let's have them open up Region C for a fair, open, highly competitive process. So I know I'm enthusiastically telling you all the details here. So there's this first hurdle, which is the legislative one, which gives nothing to us specifically. It only gives something to Region C, the southeast region. It gives the southeast region the opportunity to gain and benefit from the gaming legislation. And without that, nothing will happen. Because no one's going to come in with a Category 1 license, in my opinion, and overcome the economics and common sense of being able to be in a place that doesn't destabilize the existing license holders. So we think it's a more elegant solution to give the Gaming Commission this discretion and authority to right-size a license. If someone has a Category 1 idea, I think they should be able to apply. But if people have Category 2 ideas, like our idea here in Wareham, I think they should have the opportunity to present their plans as well.
Okay. Well, you have some support. You have some local support on your back, helping you, listening to you, okay? What you're saying makes sense to them. So once this hurdle is resolved, then it's open. Then it's no longer just you. Other people can come and compete.
Absolutely. In fact, it was, I think, falsely reported initially in the press that I was trying to get this directed to us. It was exactly wrong to say that, because we're actually willing to compete, and I think, in fact, the ones that are calling for this competition. But you make a really good point. We're not even sure if we have the best idea. We could lose. You know, this is a very competitive process. There's a very, very lucrative tax package that comes along with a host community agreement, and there will be many, many towns and cities that will want those tax dollars, and they will compete for this. So we have to think of this as an opportunity for Wareham, and there'll be other towns and cities that will view it the same way. So once the Gaming Commission is given that authority, you know, I have to recognize the fact that there could be a better idea out there.
So why are you attracted to Wareham? Why would this make sense in Wareham?
This makes sense in Wareham because of the Goldilocks principle. It's just right. It's just far enough away from Encore and just far enough away from Plainridge to not in any significant way destabilize those existing license holders. We have market studies that show that in this region, Region C, in this town, Wareham, and on that specific parcel of land, we are able to repatriate, recapture dollars that are currently driving over to Rhode Island. It's a sin to see Massachusetts license plate sitting in those facilities when those tax dollars should be staying here in the Commonwealth. So we think Wareham is the exact perfect location for a Category 2 level license. And again, we have market studies that demonstrate that. We just need the opportunity to compete.
Well, this is very interesting. Your response to this is you're recognizing the potential in Wareham rather than seeing it as, or taking advantage of Wareham. Completely different from some people have said, residents in Wareham, when I told them that I'm going to be sitting here with you today. As I mentioned before, when marijuana was introduced, when we voted yes to bring marijuana into our town, people were questioning our morals. Like, what is this going to do to us? Okay? We seemed desperate that we are making decisions because we do not have the revenue. We are struggling in this town. Most of our departments are underfunded. Now, you're coming in the picture, and let's say, yes, you get approved, everything goes completely right. Others would still see us as making decisions because we are deprived in some sort. So bring that idea close to home, how you see this as an opportunity not only for you, but for us.
I don't see it that way. I see this as an incredible opportunity where Wareham wins. You know, this isn't me coming in and trying to build a factory or something that could be viewed in a negative way, or a power plant or something like that. This is something that Wareham could be very, very proud of.
Winning by 1,000 jobs.
I think that we should take a step back and realize that unless the legislation, the Gifford bill passes, there'll be no opportunity for these 1,000 union construction workers. There will be no 1,000 permanent jobs. There will be no way to activate tourism. This is something that can be very, very positive for Wareham. That's why I just hop in my car in Quincy and drive here. I'm not flying in from out of town to take this meeting and sit here with you, Queen. I'm local, and I want to do great things in Wareham the way we've done great things in Quincy. And I'd invite you to take this show on the road and come visit us in Quincy, and we can walk you around some of our facilities, because kind of that's where the rubber meets the road. If you can deliver on the promises that are made, that's where I think the difference is with us.
Okay. So where are we at the moment?
We are waiting for a hearing. The Economic Development and Emerging Technologies Committee, it's a joint committee, Lesser and Ferrante, so Senator Lesser and Representative Ferrante are the co-chairs of that committee, and it's a public hearing, and we will have an opportunity to go in and talk about the Gifford bill, and obviously Representative Gifford will be there. And I think it's important to recognize that that in and of itself is a separate process. You could actually support that, which is really focused on Region C, the Southeast region alone, and not necessarily support this project initially. And we even have a press release that's going out today, which you'll be the first to read about. owner of Mayflower Brewing, is making a statement. He's very, very positive about the Gifford bill. He thinks that the Southeast region shouldn't be ignored, but he's very smart, and he really is. He says he's intrigued about our project. So what he's saying is, I think, don't leave Region C behind. Region C should benefit from the gaming legislation. And then let's see about this plan in Wareham, and let's see about the other plans. Because there's, what, 52 communities in the Southeast region, so everyone should have an opportunity to compete.
Now, some of the concerns that people pointed out was issues with horse track racing, animal cruelty.
Yes.
How do you address those?
Great questions, and it was one of the very, very first things that we thought about. We didn't hold back at all in bringing in the best experts in the industry. You have to remember, we have the benefit of a new construction project here, so this will have state-of-the-art technology, and it will be a state-of-the-art construction project. But beyond that, we actually hired Dr. Durenberger, who works, she's a vet, and she's a really world-renowned expert. She's the leading examining vet for NYRA, for example, the New York Racing Authority. And she has come in and she's helped us come up with initial programs. This would be the safest facility. There would be an equine health facility as part of our program. We even went so far as to hire a specialized architect, GH2, to design the barns, because even the way the horse stables are laid out and organized, there's an art to it. There's a way to do it right, and we want to make sure that we have the safest facility in America.
Okay. So if we still are waiting for the law to be changed, you guys are kind of way early on in the stage, right? Because you already proposed your ideas, and will those ideas change if the law is passed?
Well, we think that we have the program very well evolved. We've spent a lot of time with this nearly 300-acre parcel and moving the pieces around, and we know where things fit. We've studied the land extensively, so we know all about the moth habitats, and we know where the wetlands are, and we know where the vernal pools are, and we know what the soil conditions are, and we've had the land surveyed. You never want to have a surprise later on down the road and find out that you didn't understand a certain component or habitat on the land. We've already done all those studies, which is why I come back to that Goldilocks principle on the real estate. Location, location, location is great. The conditions are phenomenal. And we think the timing is right, too.
Why the timing is right?
The timing is right because of the way the gaming law was applied and the way the current license holders were placed. It kind of left Region C to the side. There was all this chaos about the Mashpee Wampanoags and what would happen there. And it was just a long, tortured story that has resulted in Region C being left behind. So the timing now is that the rest of the Commonwealth is known. Those are licenses that are in place. Those are facilities that are up and producing tax dollars. And now I believe the Gaming Commission will turn its attention to Region C. So that's why I think the timing is just right. People don't want thoroughbred racing, this entire industry, to die in the Commonwealth. And Region C shouldn't, this entire swath of the Commonwealth shouldn't be ignored.
And once again, you're not going to stealing customers from other places because you're going to offer something completely different.
We do want to be a destination, we do want to be family oriented, and we do want to have that sports orientation right here in Wareham.
Well, thank you so much for being in the studio. I have learned a lot, and I hope you can come back later on as this continues to develop. The next step, we can come and discuss about that too, and we can dive more into the details.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you, Queen. This is wonderful. We think it's an opportunity for Wareham to win, and we'd like to be part of it.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
To my viewers, thank you so much for joining me in another episode of Good Morning Wareham. My guest was Tom O'Connell, the founder and managing member of the Notus Group. We were here talking about a concept, a proposed casino in Wareham. More details will come. Hopefully one day he will come back to address those details. If you missed us this morning, this show will be rebroadcasted this evening at 6 p.m. We'll also go to our Wareham Community Television YouTube at Wareham Community Television YouTube. And we'll be back on Wednesday. I do not know who's going to be here. It's going to be a surprise for both of us. With that, bye-bye, Wareham.